All right, hi, cool. We are up and we are moving. I'll give everybody a little bit, a minute or two, pop on if we get an audience. So just wanted to start by saying that we're going to provide tonight's live Q&A to wrap up February, which is Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month. So throughout the month of February, we've been sharing facts about teens, dating, healthy relationships, abuse in relationships, things of that nature. One of the facts that we shared is that 1 in 3 teens will experience abuse from a dating partner. So that's regardless of gender identity. That's 1 in 3 teens across the board dealing with abuse in their relationships. So tonight, I hope that we can kind of break down some questions about teen dating violence and how we, as adults who care about teens in our lives, can help them figure all this stuff out. So what I'm going to be doing if, nobody joins us is I'm going to be reviewing some questions that were kind of sent to us throughout the month. And if any additional questions pop up, feel free to comment them in the comment section, and we will try and get to as many of the live questions as possible with the time that we have. So the first question that was submitted this month was just, what does emotional abuse look like? So when we understand abuse in relationships, we know that it can come all different ways: physical abuse, verbal abuse, and emotional abuse. And emotional abuse, so this is a great question because this is tougher to identify. I would say that verbal abuse and emotional abuse go hand in hand. So verbal abuse is, name calling, put downs, making fun of your partner. Sometimes we can pretend that it's a joke, and it can seem lighthearted, but it is hurting our partner's feelings. But I think one of the most important things to understand when we talk about emotional abuse in relationships is control. Because abuse is really centered all around having power and control over our partner. So when we talk about controlling behaviors with teens, especially today, it's all right here. It's all through the phones, the social media, constantly checking in, constantly texting, getting angry if my partner's not available, at my beck and call at that time, asking to go through each other's phones, constantly monitoring them on social media, things like that. So controlling and possessive behaviors, that's a form of emotional abuse. But then on the complete other side of it, you could have a different form of emotional abuse where we're neglecting our partner, ignoring our partner, acting embarrassed, trying to keep our relationship secret, things like that. So it can really be on one end or the complete opposite. Another thing that I think is important to note, and we'll talk about it again throughout this, is isolating our partners. So kind of wanting them to only spend time with us, discouraging them from spending time with anybody else, kind of getting upset when they're not spending time with just us, right? We want to be the key person, the sole person in their life. So I would really say, though, the controlling, possessive, or like the ignoring or keeping relationships secret kind of stuff. And then, if the partner's acting one way with you when it's just the two of you, but a different way in front of their friends, that's another thing that we can kind of pick up on with emotional abuse. An interesting question I got in a couple different forms was, why are teens willing to stay in these relationships? Why won't they leave the relationship? And so I kind of wrote down several different reasons that I could think of why teens are willing to stay in these relationships or might not want to leave or be ready to leave. The first and most important for us to think about and understand is the fear of social consequences. maybe the partner's going to spread rumors after I break up with them. What if this person tells everyone that I'm a liar, that I'm crazy, that I'm overreacting? Don't believe them, right? What if all of my friends decide to just keep hanging out with my partner and not hanging out with me anymore, and everybody stops hanging out with me? What if throughout my relationship, when we're talking about that emotional abuse, I've isolated myself from my friends, and I don't really have much of a support system to fall back on at that point? We could even talk about, when we talk about the rumor mill in school, the social consequences of breaking up with somebody and kind of being honest about the relationship with our friends and family. I'm not even going to get into it yet because we're going to get into it in a little bit with one of the other questions, but the fear that these kids have now of like having their text messages or explicit photos leaked, or, used over their head. So we'll talk about that briefly later. Another main reason that anyone would really want to stay in one of these relationships, is out of, embarrassment, having a little bit of too much pride, maybe. These relationships can make us feel embarrassed and kind of shamed that we'd allow ourselves to go through something like this. We might want to save face, per se, rather than feel judged and ridiculed for letting this happen. And again, I'm using the air quotes because they didn't let this happen. It happened to them, right? They can't allow it to happen. But yeah, they might be feeling embarrassed and ashamed and having that pride get in the way. Another thing is concerns about, if I come forward and talk about the abuse of my relationship, a loss of independence from my parents. Maybe I'm worried that my parents will start restricting things, restricting my curfew, restricting my access to my phone, to my social media platforms, Instagram, Snapchat. Maybe I won't be able to go to parties. They won't let me date. Maybe they'll say, I told you were too young to date and things like that. I don't want my independence to be restricted. And I might be worried that if my parents find out that I've been in this relationship, that they'll kind of want to, pull back and hold on to me a little tighter, and I'll lose that independence that teens crave. Here's a real reason that people might stay. Maybe I just really am in love with this person. I want to stay in this relationship. Maybe I truly believe in my heart that I can inspire this person to change. It's really easy to identify unhealthy behaviors when you're outside of them. So they might still, teens are still learning what is healthy, what is unhealthy. And so they might really kind of think that these unhealthy things are okay. They might see it normalized in their friends' relationships. And so maybe talking to them about what healthy relationships look like could help with that kind of reason why they would stay. So a question in the same kind of category as this is, what is preventing my teen from talking to me about abuse in their relationship? Fear of being blamed, maybe, how could you let this happen? Oh, I thought you'd know better than this. Things like that. Because a lot of us, I think it's just we tend to initially go to this victim blaming, unintentionally, this victim blaming place where we feel like the victim could have prevented these things from happening somehow. We got to avoid doing that, because it really does put teens in fear of being honest with these things if they know that that's what's going to happen. We talked about the loss of independence already at length. Maybe though they want to also protect the abuser. Maybe I'm worried that my parents are going to call the police or, file charges or call that person's parents, and it could cause this big dramatic thing. And then we could talk again about those social consequences. So there's a ton of reasons why your teen might not be wanting to or ready to come forward and talk to you about this. All right. How can I tell if my teenager is in an abusive relationship? This is a good one. First thing to look for is the quality of their schoolwork. So if they, kept a consistent quality of grades, if that's starting to drop, the quality and level of care that they're putting into their work is declining, that's something to keep an eye on. Are they changing. Like, you know your kids. You know the kids that you are the teacher of, that you're the parent of, that you spend time with. You know these kids. You know their personalities. Are you seeing personality shifts in these kids? Are they starting to be quieter? Do they seem tense or nervous or anxious? Are they starting to be more secretive? They're not coming to you and talking to you about things as often as they used to. Do they seem depressed or withdrawn? These are things, just keep an eye on things. If your child is shifting in their personality, something might be going on. Okay, are they spending way less time with the friends that they used to hang out with? So I've grown up with this group of friends, you're used to this group of friends, you see them around, and then they're not hanging out with those people anymore. They are only hanging out with their boyfriend or girlfriend, their partner, they're only hanging out with that person, so they're kind of isolating themselves. They're not having much contact with any of their close, good old friends. Or they're not interested in, or they're not participating in any of their extracurricular activities anymore. So they're not doing any of their athletics, music, theater, any community or church groups that they're involved in. They're going to pull back from those things. Here's one. Have they been acting out at home, at school? Are there new disciplinary problems coming up that have never kind of been a problem before? Truancy being a notable one, skipping class to hang out with my partner, things like that. All right, physical abuse signs that you can keep an eye out for in your teens are any unexplained bruising. So check their arms, their chest area, face, neck, bruising on their body, bruises in various stages of healing, an older bruise, a newer bruise, things like that. Also notice changes in their appearance. Are they not taking as good a care of their hygiene as they once did, or taking care of their appearances as they once did? Is there a shift and noticeable change in their weight? Have they lost some weight or gained some weight? Is their just demeanor different? They carry themselves higher before and they're a little more slouched and nervous and with, withdrawn. Are they wearing like wildly different clothing? Maybe clothing to cover things, bruising and things, but also just totally different style that's not like them. Although aside from like the usual change-ups that we see in teens and their style identities, which is totally normal. So those are just some things that I think that you can look for to identify this in your kids or in the kids that you might work with. The next question I got was, how can I address my teen about abuse in their relationship? So if I think that my teen is in an abusive relationship, how can I come to them and talk to them about it? First things first, you have to come to the table remembering what it feels like to be a teenager. Forget the whole, I even find myself doing it. Trust me, high school is just the beginning of your life. It's not the end of the world. You're not even going to remember this. Try not to engage in that speech with your kids, because they really, we got to sit in their perspective for a minute, so that we can let them know, I know what you're feeling and where you're at, and I'm seeing this from your point of view. Because teenagers want to be treated like the independent adults that they really feel themselves to be. So treat them as that. And in the same vein, don't minimize the importance of this relationship to them. Even though we as adults might have more foresight and wisdom when it comes to these relationships, you don't want to minimize their importance to this teen. If this teen's sitting there saying, I really feel like I'm going to marry this person, don't minimize that. Don't belittle their feelings about that. Don't judge them or punish them or blame them for the relationship or the choices that they have made in the relationship. Choices especially like staying with the partner, being manipulated and sending nude photos, things like that. You have to understand that there was likely emotional abuse, control, coercion, manipulation involved. And abuse is never the victim's fault. So your teen is not to blame, and they might be fearful that you're going to blame them. Withhold the blame. help them through this. Don't make any assumptions. Don't assume things. Just listen to their story full, take everything at face value, believe them, and just trust that what they're telling you is the truth and it's the full story. As much as this is going to be especially difficult for parents, don't try to take control of the situation unless an emergency is requiring you to do so. Sit down with them and just calmly present different choices and options that your teen has in this situation, and let them make that choice and let them know, I support your choice. Let's make this choice together and I'm going to help you. Other things that we can do that are really important, obviously, are things like, it starts at home, right? So modeling examples of healthy relationships so that your kids can see in other relationships when they see unhealthy things. This isn't something that's healthy that I've seen in the relationships around me. Have quality bonding with your teens and your adolescents. Try to understand the things that they're into and share common interests with them. And make sure to form, as they get older, mutually respective relationships. Be respectful of their autonomy and independence and their point of view, even though it might be wildly different from your own. You are the parent, but you can also, put on a friend's shoe and a parent's shoe, one on each foot, right? Follow through with rules at home, right? Set clear expectations, set clear consequences, and just be consistent. And those are just kind of the things that I think you could do when helping your kids with, dating and healthy relationships and unhealthy relationships. One of the questions we got is, what protections are there for my child from an abusive partner? So if I found out that my child is in an abusive relationship and I want to protect them, I feel that their safety is in jeopardy, what can I do to protect them? So first, teens can apply for and get protection from abuse orders. They are also commonly known as PFAs. They can protect the teen from the abuse. Sometimes they come with a no contact order, so their partner wouldn't be able to call them, text them, try and get in touch with them through a third party. They wouldn't be able to contact them on social media, post about them on social media, things like that. However, a parent or a guardian would have to file on behalf of the teen. The teen wouldn't be able to file for a PFA alone. And then the adult who files for the teen would have to be in court on the day of the hearing. An important thing to note also is that as a parent, as an adult, you can file a PFA even if the teen doesn't want to. However, the teen is going to be expected to be there and testify. So keep that in mind. If you want better information about this process, more guidance and more understanding about the PFA process, call us at Domestic Violence Center. We have a legal team that can walk you through the steps of getting a PFA and helping your teen protect themselves. So you can call 1-888-711-6270 and ask for a legal advocate and talk to them about getting a PFA, and they can just walk you through every single step of the process. What if my child is being or has been persuaded to send a nude photo? When we talked about control and the cell phone and the impact that this has, 61% of teens who sent nude photos last year were pressured to do so from a partner. There is going to be pressure to do unhealthy things like this in teen relationships that are abusive and controlling. And so if your child did, end up being persuaded to and did send a nude photo, good news, they are protected under the law. So if they're under 18, they are protected under the laws regarding sexual images of a minor. However, if they're over 18 and that nude got out and was leaked, they are still protected by a law that is called dissemination of intimate images. And so that being used to manipulate them, to intimidate them, to keep them in the relationship, or to humiliate them after ending the relationship, there are ways that they can seek justice for that as well, absolutely. And I know that that's something that's unfortunately very common in these relationships. 38% of teens last year had someone else's nude forwarded to them. And it's upsetting, but there are protections. So first and foremost, before I open it up to any live questions, I just want to share that the Domestic Violence Center of Chester County, we've been serving the community since 1976. We provide services for victims and survivors of domestic violence and their dependent children. So that means victims and survivors of teen dating violence can utilize these services. Our services are available for teens. And that's extremely important for these guys to know. They can get counseling. They can utilize our hotline. They can utilize our legal services and get help with legal protections. And so this is a wonderful free resource, free, completely, and confidential resource for teens in Chester County. So I know that we have some people on here live, and I just want to open it up to see if anybody has any live questions about teen dating violence, violent relationships, teens and dating in general. I would love to chat about it. So I'm also going to be keeping an eye on, we'll be sharing this video, this broadcast, and I'll be keeping an eye on the comment section, and I'll reply to any additional questions that come up from, parents or teachers, mentors, guardians, so on and so forth. So feel free to continue to comment any questions that you have that come up after you've kind of viewed this broadcast. So if you would like more information for your teens, if you oversee a teen youth group, or if you would like education in your teen's school, that is also something that Domestic Violence Center can provide for free. We partner with many of the area high schools, middle schools. We come into different community groups to provide education on these very topics and answer questions for free. So please feel free to give us a call and ask for me. My name is Amelia, and we could schedule some education for you. We have several educational options, especially those for teens. So we're talking about Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month, wrapping that up today. One of the things is that we provide teen dating violence awareness presentations in schools, but also in community groups. So if you are interested in bringing some education to teens that you work with, feel free to reach out to us. We would love to help you facilitate that. We also have a program called Coaching Boys into Men. This program is in several of the Chester County schools, and our Coaching Boys into Men coordinator, Joe, trains coaches of high school athletic teams to talk with their athletes about respect in relationships, but also just respect in friendships and respect across the board. And so Coaching Boys into Men is a wonderful program. Woohoo, yes, is a wonderful program that we are excited to provide and offer to schools. So if you're interested in having that brought to your child's school, let the administrators at the school know, and provide them our contact information. Let them know that you're interested in this. We would love to provide that. Again, it's a free educational program and service for the community that we're glad to provide. So I'll just wait for a little bit, see if anybody has any more questions about teens in identifying abuse in relationships or helping teens with relationships. All right, well, I want to thank everybody who tuned in. Hi, and thank you guys all for for participating in our live Q&A conversation about teen dating violence and talking about it through the adult perspective, helping teens that we know, that we care about, that we love, navigate this crazy world of dating. We also have plenty of resources at the Domestic Violence Center. You can check us out online, www.dvccc3cs.com. You can check us out on Instagram. Have your teens follow us at DVCCCPA. We actually did a live Q&A for the teens last night on Instagram. But we provide so much information on our website, on our social media platforms. So feel free to scour that and show your teens some of those pieces of information and contact us about any education or any of the resources that you would like from us. We have brochures and guides. We have a bookmark that we made specifically for teens, but we use it now across the board. People love this bookmark. On one side, it outlines unhealthy behaviors in relationships. However, on the other side, it outlines the healthy behaviors in relationships. And sometimes that's a little bit more what the teens need to understand is not what's unhealthy, but what is healthy. Oh, cool. We got a question. Are there any books to recommend for young children to start the conversations about healthy relationships? How to start that conversation with them? That's great. When we see disagreements, and pay attention to the shows that you're watching with your kids and just look for those teachable moments in life and teachable moments with your children. Because when it comes down to the relationships in your home and friendships and stuff, it's all similar, respectful behaviors and respectful things that we're going to be modeling. So help them work through those things using, healthy communication skills, I statements, I felt this way when you did this, and next time could you, right? Teach them how to really express themselves, not to be afraid to express themselves, and let them understand that their feelings are valid, validate their feelings. I will do some research on books for young kids. I know that there are some good books for children who've grown up in violent homes, that this is different. So modeling healthy relationships. I'm thinking of the Berenstein Bears book, and I'll get the title later, but where Sister Bear gets into a fight with one of our friends and, takes all her toys into her, baby carriage and leaves. But I'll think of some books and then I'll comment them later in response to that question. That's awesome to have resources for younger children to kind of talk about healthy relationships early on. But again, I'll reiterate, modeling those behaviors at home. If you and your partner at home are modeling loving, respectful relationships and loving, respectful conversations and respectful disagreements, then you're right on track. You're doing the right thing in your family and helping start that conversation already just by modeling it. All right. Well, again, I just want to thank you guys. Feel free to reach out if you would like any of the bookmarks that I had talked about. If you would be interested in any of our educational programs, they are completely free. And we would love to come out and provide education. It's what we love to do. It is our passion. So reach out to us. Our hotline number, again, 1-888-711-6270. Adults and teens can utilize these services. Don't forget, local hotline number is 610-431-1430, 1430. And then our business line, 610-431-3546. Feel free to reach out if you are interested in any educational materials or educational programming. Again, we would love to provide that for you. Thank you guys so much for engaging in this Q&A. Continue commenting questions all night long. I will be popping on and answering as much as I can and providing as many resources as I possibly can. So thank you guys so much. And I really appreciated this time and I appreciated your participation. So that was it. We are wrapped up Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month. We learned about it, we talked about it, we shared about it. You guys engaged in this conversation. We can't thank you enough. So have a wonderful night, guys.